I'm Allie with Potomac Beads. Join me in playing with some Delicas, getting them in circular peyote to fit inside the bezel for this twirly bracelet. If you got the best Bead Box XL in October, you already have these supplies. You can also check the links below to shop with us online. Gather up your materials and let's get started. I love this bracelet because the possibilities are endless. You can put in some individual beads, you can put a 12mm cap in here, you can put in some glitter even and do some resin. What I thought I would show you is how to, for this bracelet here, there are 6 little bezel links. And you can unattach these together if you want to, if you did get the bracelet in your subscription box. What I'm going to show you is how to use 44 beads in a circular fashion to create these little kind of twirly pinwheel looking things that go inside. Then we're just going to use a tiny bit of the Loctite glue to glue them in place. To begin, I want you to pick up 4 beads. We're going to be doing circular peyote. I have 2 different colors. I have Delica galvanized silver and the dark mauve color. And I have a size 10 English beading needle on about a foot and a half of 0.006 wildfire beading thread. 0.008 would also work for this as well. I'm taking these 4 beads, putting them onto my thread and needle, and I'm tying them into a knot. From here, we're going to do this a tiny bit different than traditional circular peyote. We're going to add 1 bead in between each one of the beads that we just added. So we added 4 beads, we're going to add 4 more. Sewing through the next bead after the knot, add a bead, and sew through the next silver bead in line. Add one of the dark mauve, sew through the next silver. So we're going to end up at the end of this row with 8 beads on, 4 in our silver, and 4 in our mauve. Once you have that 4th one on, we're going to start this circular peyote. What you're going to do is sew through the 11-0 right next to the knot. Sometimes you need to pull that knot out a little bit to sew through. You're going to sew through that 11-0, and then after sewing through that 11-0, what I want you to do is sew through that first mauve bead that you just added. So you're stepping up through the first mauve bead. Once you're out of that first mauve bead, we're going to go 1 more row for a 3rd row. So our first row was our silver, our 2nd row was our mauve. We're going to do a 3rd row where we add 1 more bead at a time as well. We're going to go back to silver. So I'm going to add silver, there's 1, and then sew into my next mauve bead. Add another silver, sew into your next mauve. So again, we're adding 4 beads, making this box basically a little bit bigger, circling it around to finish off row number 3. Now for row number 4, after you add your last silver bead, you're going to go through the mauve that your thread was originally coming out of, and you're also going to step up through the first silver bead that you just added in this row. So now you're out silver bead number 1. From here, we're going to arch over and connect our silver beads. So we're going to do peyote again. And this time we're going to use 2 of our mauve beads as we do our 5th row. Oh, I'm sorry, 4th row. We have our 2 mauve, and we're going to sew through our next silver. 2 mauve, go on top, sew through the next silver. So the reason I called this twirly bracelet is because you're twirling around constantly. You're constantly spinning your peyote stitch as you add in 1 or 2 or 3 beads, going around the circle here, catching on to all of my silvers from the last row. And then after you add and go into your last silver, you're going to step up once again. This time, because we added 2 beads at a time, you're stepping up through those first 2 beads and giving a nice tight pull. This is going to start to round this out to get us that twirly look. Now the 5th row, we're going to go even bigger. So you can do this in silver, you can do it in brown, you can really change up the designs. You can see Anna popped in some of the colors here. We've done both, we're sharing this bracelet here, Anna and I, and we're going in and kind of creating different designs and different patterns. So I'm going to switch it up to my bronze again. So I'm going to switch it up a little bit and do bronze again. 3 bronze go on, and I go through that bronze or mauve color. This is my 6th and final row. Or sorry, my 5th row. My 6th is my final row. Adding 3 beads on then. 1, 2, and 3. You're going to go through that next 2 grouping of beads. Again, 3 more on. So this time you're adding 4 groups of 3. So you're adding a total of 12 beads this time. And as you add the final ones here, you're going to go through the 2 that your thread is coming out of originally. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go through our 3 that basically sit kind of at the corners there, those 3 mauves. And I'm going to switch back to silver. And you're going to use 2 silver beads, 1, 2, for our 6th row of our peyote stitch, going through then the 3 mauve beads. If you don't have the little forms and you don't want to do the form creation, keep in mind that you can do this as earrings independently. You don't have to glue them into place. Doing 2 beads, sewing through the 3, and it's really just having fun with that circular peyote. What this does in the manner that I added them, which row number 1 is all those 4 beads. After that, you're adding 1 at a time for row number 2. Row number 3 is also 1 at a time. Row number 4 is 2 at a time. Row 5 is 3 at a time. And as we finish here, row number 6, it's back to 2 at a time. I need 2 more of my beads for a total of 44 beads on each one of your little pinwheels. So as you twirl around and get this last bead in place, 1 and 2, I'm going to sew through those final 3 beads that my thread was originally coming out of. Add in those 2 to kind of round it out a little bit. Now I'm going to go back and sew into my piece to get back to that starter piece. So I'm going to reverse my thread, go through the 1 silver that sits below it. From here I'm going to reverse my thread, go through the 1 silver that sits below that. Go through the next silver in line from that original 4 rows, and tie these 2 thread ends together. Once these 2 thread ends are tied together, and again, you can keep these twirls off or on the bezel. So if you don't want to put them in there, you don't need to. I'm not worrying about my knot showing along the back here. If you have earrings that you want to make and do this as a little just simple pair of kind of Celtic knot looking earrings, you can weave the thread back in so you don't have the appearance of any knot whatsoever. The reason I'm not worrying about a knot is because the next step in this piece is gluing it into place. So once you're done your little pinwheels here of color, changing it up, figuring out the designs and really having fun with it, using up a lot of random Delicas that you have, you're going to take your Loctite glue, push in on the sides, have that nice gel glue be nice and controlled. You can see I'm not going around the whole section here. I'm just keeping it to the center. Because by the time I go in now and take it and I'm flipping that knot towards the bottom, I'm going to push this into that form. Whoops, not my finger. As I push it over, push it into that form. You can use the pliers if you need to rather than your fingers so you don't glue them in. And you're going to have your little twirly, have your little twirly nice and completed. Once that dries in a little bit, you're going to have your bracelet. You can do tons and tons and tons of different examples of different beads and different patterns in your design along the piece. Again, if you want to, you can go in and actually add different size seed beads. You can keep these little sections of this circular peyote off the piece, or you can put it into these fun bales. If you have another piece, maybe the pendant that was in another one of your boxes, you can go even bigger and keep going to get these fun little swirl creations. Thanks so much for joining me in this fun little twirly tutorial. Remember, you don't have to have the forms. You can do the circular peyote all on your own. Stack them up, make them bigger or smaller, and you can do them as earrings, do them as a necklace, connect them, or really have fun using the bezel setting. It's been really fun to play around with some of these different box items, and I'm sure you're excited as well. As always, don't forget to give a little thumbs up. Comment below and say what you filled in with your bezel bracelet if you already had it. Post pictures of it in our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making. And people would love to hear your comments below if you want to say what you have done, included and added to your bezel set bracelet. Remember, if you do need any of the materials still, check out the links below to shop with us online. As always, don't forget to hit that little subscribe button so you don't miss anything from us here at Potomac Beads. Thanks so much for watching and enjoy your twirly bracelet.